Hi, I'm Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot. This is a commentary on my recent interviews with Captain Mark Richards from the Secret Space Program.
Mark Richards from the Secret Space Program. Is that the official name of the Secret Space Program?
I decided to do a commentary to cover some of the parameters of what's going on when I'm interviewing him so people could get a general idea of the playing field that he's operating in and how it affects the testimony that I may get from him. I do highly recommend that you watch all three, what are basically interview recalls of my on the scene in Vacaville prison interview with Captain Mark Richards.
I knew he'd be in prison.
Now, first of all, I want to say, for those who haven't seen the interviews, that I am not allowed to bring in any recording equipment.
So we're dealing with a top secret political prisoner of some kind who you're not allowed to record interviews with.
We are in a large room with lots of people. All the other inmates are in the same room. There's lots of talking and loud, laughter and everything that you get in a place where there's lots of humans. I am there with Joanne Richards, his wife, and she is helping by taking notes using a pencil. And pencil and paper is very difficult for obviously many reasons for taking notes. And I also do some note taking during the interview myself when I have a chance. I spend around 3 or 4 hours with him.
So you're allowed to visit this guy with his wife. You're not allowed to record the interview, but you can take notes, which I'm sure will be confiscated in this scenario. He's not a very tightly guarded top secret political prisoner.
During that time, I'm very conscious that I must remember everything he says because otherwise it could be lost. And my whole purpose is to get the truth out to the people listening. It doesn't really allow for him to go into a lot of depth with regard to various things. If you can understand that in terms of total recall, my recall is going to be on the specifics as much as possible, but rather the big points he makes, and I can't literally sort of regurgitate the information verbatim. What has happened is that I've started to read his reports, and his reports, such as the Battle of Vesta, that will be, I believe, published by his wife Joanne Richards very soon into a book.
There's quite a lot of things I'm looking for in this presentation. Some of it is logical consistency, and some of it is funny little tells. Now, the Battle of Vesta, in this presentation, Mark Richards' book, The Battle of Vesta, is being published as fiction, but being a vehicle for telling the truth, is how she's going to present this. But any keen fan of Babylon 5 will tell you that Vesta is the name of the Psychor bad guy who appears in many episodes. And I would think that this woman who talks a lot about aliens, she's quite into this. So you would imagine she's seen a lot of sci-fi. And if she's going to regurgitate funny little snippets that she's subconsciously stolen, it will come up like that. So I'll be watching for those.
And it's an excellent report. It's really like a sci-fi story. At the same time, it contains excellent science, both conventional science and history of space travel, as well as covering the various sciences such as physics, astrobiology, time travel, and so on, as well as various fuels that they used or experimented with to do space travel, and so on. So it's really an amazing report. And within it, of course, he has plenty of time to elaborate on various subjects. Now, my 3 interviews again, we get very clear answers to very direct questions, but we don't get a chance to have him go into sort of waxing eloquent on the nature of space travel, for example. I encourage people to go to Earth Defense Headquarters, and I will put that URL here on the screen, and read his various reports, including the Battle of Vesta, which I'm going to reference here a few times.
Just as an aside, we never actually get that URL. Earth Defense Headquarters, I can find one. Educational non-profit for science education creative arts has been formed to collect and distribute information in the fields of history, science, blah blah blah. Doesn't really say anything. They have a little products tab, and on the products tab a whole lot of reports come up We don't have the Battle of Besta here. That would be in the B's, wouldn't it? It's gone already. Club of Rome. This is some interesting stuff, but I think this seems to be more realistic. This is like Earth-based reports and research and things like that. Battle of the Harvest Moon, talk given at Probe UK conference in October 2007, taken from the mission report about alien invasion fleet heading to Earth from space. A US base on the moon, space battle to defend Earth. Well, unless I've been in a coma, that didn't happen. I think it may have happened in secret. I don't think so. And actually, now is a good time to say why. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old, but the universe is 12 billion years old. The gains that we've made in 4.5 billion years, getting into low Earth orbit and bringing computers along and this kind of thing, they've had an 8 billion year head start. Up to 8 billion years head start. We can't travel out into the cosmos. We simply are unable to do that as of yet. The only way an alien species could get here is if they've cracked space travel in a meaningful way, in that they can transport themselves quickly over vast distances. Now that in itself would prove that they are very far ahead of us, technologically speaking, and maybe evolutionary speaking as well.
I question the audacity of saying we're intelligent. Any other intelligent species out there will be able to have a conversation. That's audacious. In fact, it's hubristic. Let's explore this. Let's explore what this means. All right. Let's compare human intelligence, as we define it, to chimp intelligence. All right. Use our own definitions of this. Right. We have nearly identical DNA with the chimp. And it's trifling difference. It's less than 1% difference in the DNA between a chimp and human beings. Okay? So, 1% difference between us. And we say to ourselves, what a difference that 1% makes. Right? We compose poetry. We have philosophy. We have technology. We've got Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. We've discovered quantum physics. We built the Hubble Space Telescope. Yet what can the smartest chimps do? You know, they do what human toddlers can do. Maybe they'll be good at some rudimentary sign language. Maybe they can stack boxes to reach a banana or some other object of interest. Our toddlers can do that, yet that's the behavior of the smartest chimps that are out there. Again, we're defining what's smart. All right. Now, imagine, if you will, a species of life, an alien species perhaps, likely, that has 1% genetic intelligence beyond ours, just as our intelligence is 1% genetically beyond that of the chimp. What we look like to them? Frankly, I think we look like drooling, blithering idiots. That's what. All right? If it corresponds, then the smartest among us would be capable of what their toddlers can do. Imagine their human researchers rolling out Stephen Hawking and commenting, hey, he can do astrophysics calculations in his head, just like little Timmy over here in preschool. That's what they'd be saying about us, because that's what we say about chimps. Imagine, I could keep going here. Imagine they're preschoolers. They bring home their freshly composed operas for the refrigerator door instead of, what do we bring home? Pasta collages. All right? Their preschoolers will bring home fresh derivations of calculus instead of finger painting. Would that species judge us to be intelligent at all? Would they enslave us? Put us in a zoo? Would we even know it if they did it? In fact, is Earth a zoo for their own entertainment? If they're that much smarter than we are, this would be a trivial exercise in their culture to accomplish. because we do that for other creatures that are not as smart as we. Now, perhaps the most terrifying thought of them all is that such a species is out there. Such a species has combed the galaxy in search for intelligent life. Such a species has visited Earth, observed our ways, our culture, and concluded, based on all the data they have gathered on us, living here on Earth, that there is no sign of intelligent life.
So within my reading of his recent report, The Battle of Vesta, what becomes clear is it's basically an autobiography written in the form of a sci-fi adventure story. And I have to say that for all intents and purposes, it appears to be mainly true.
That funny little look into camera that she does there, she does this a few times. I'll talk about it later, but it sort of stands out.
And but at the same time, because he's using that technique, I'm sure that makes it possible to get those reports out of the prison and published in the mainstream.
And none of the flunkies, none of his bosses, handlers, nobody in military intelligence is going to figure out what he's done. That doesn't seem likely.
Basically, we are being surveilled and listened to during the time when I'm there. It's needless to say that there are plenty of surveillance and listening devices around us at all times. And we have, again, the pressure of time regarding the questions and the depth of the questions.
You did say you have 3 hours per session. You're allowed to write notes. People are all around you, they're watching and listening, but they never stop you. They haven't banned his book. I'm not sure, man.
The objective of this interview is for the purposes of disclosing information about the secret space program and who he really is and how he is known within the secret space program, within the New World Order, and why they might have been motivated to frame him in such a bizarre fashion, which is a story in itself, and I'm hoping to get more on that subject from Mark in the near future. Ultimately, what he does is he makes an executive decision that concerns the life of people around him, including saving humanity.
Well, there's 3 basic choices here. One is that she's telling the truth. One is that she's completely making it up. And the third option is that she is visiting some guy in prison and he's making it up. At this point, it's very difficult to draw a conclusion, so we're going to have a little look at what he's got to say. But this idea of this guy, this prisoner from the secret space program, disclosing facts in his books without getting busted for it, and telling her that he saved the world, it's a little bit pie in the sky at this point. It's all like she's going to visit Doctor Who in prison or something. Maybe he's in prison for fraud and he's totally doing this woman over. He's using her to either for money or to get out of prison or blah 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 blah, whatever. He's taking her for a complete ride. That's what I'd suspect at this point.
You must have a rebel gene in order to basically wake up as a human at this time and to create change on the planet.
I think I might have that gene.
And also disclosing information that he feels humanity needs in order to fight the battle, the ongoing battle with various off-planet races that would rather take over our planet, weighing their desires to use us as food and in other ways.
Using us as food is the first wholly illogical thing she said. That just doesn't ring true. Surely a species more advanced than us has their own stockpile of their favourite shit. It would be like us with our steaks, us with our cows on farms. Do they want to put us on a farm and eat us like that? We're not the right sort of animal to eat in that way, unless you're going to add in a little bit more sci-fi and say we've got a certain type of aura, a certain type of chemical, or maybe even a drug type effect that our body stroke spirit has on an alien. No, using us as food, you can only imagine that a human being as a source of food would be a luxury item, in the same way as we eat caviar but not much of it, in the same way as we'd eat monkey brains under certain situations. You know, the monkey hasn't got much fat, meat, it's an endangered species, it's not freely available. Using it as food pointless really, but you could call it a luxury item. Are we a luxury item? 8 billion of us, no, 7 billion, isn't it? 7 billion of us on the planet. It's not a bad-sized ranch, farm. There's enough of us. Maybe you don't need to have a big fat cow if you've got 8 billion smaller animals. But it doesn't ring true, because they will have evolved to eat what is available on their own planet. They will have evolved the taste buds, the sensations that would tell them, yes, this is good for you, or no, this is hideous. And a well-evolved primate from a different planet, there's no reason why that would sing across their palate. So that doesn't quite make sense to me. It seems thrown in there as a classic idea. It's rather nonsensical.
In light of the Vesta report and other reports that I've read, I would say that Mark is telling very little compared to what he really knows. The more he talks, the more chances there are that they might want to reconsider and bring him back in on a full-time basis to working for the secret space program.
So the more official secrets he tells, the more likely they are to get him out of jail and give him his old job back. There seems to be something wrong with that thinking. I would have thought he's headed for the gallows rather than freedom and to have his old job back.
The fact that he was attacked the morning before I met with him the other day, and so there is clearly a certain amount of rogue players out there that are operational within the prison system.
I wanted to hold this bit up as highlight. I'm not entirely sure why, but this idea of the rogues in prison sort of amused me. Rogue players in the prison system. I don't know what it is. It's catching with me. I don't have a coherent thought about it. Let's see what you guys think of that.
And, again, I believe that each of us has, in essence, a truth resonator, which will tell us when we're getting good information versus the contrary.
I agree with that as well, and I'll certainly be using mine as we look at the interviews and the information that comes out of them. So, this is it. She doesn't give much emotion away. It's very rambly delivery. A few looks into camera. Sometimes I think she looks into camera at the most dramatic moments, and that, if you were talking to a person, that would indicate lies. You glance, after you've told a whopper, you look at the other person to see their reactions. That's how you gauge the success of your lie. But whether that translates into when you're talking to a camera, I'm not sure about that. So I'll have a look at it. I'll keep an eye on it, but we'll see. Next video, Captain Mark Richards' spiel about aliens.